Get ready because a massive overhaul of India's GST is just around the corner. They're calling it the Next-Gen Reform, and believe me, it's set to change the price of pretty much everything you buy. So the big question is, what's actually in it for you? Let's break it down.
I mean, it sounds almost too good to be true, right? But that's exactly the goal behind these GST reforms. The whole idea is to lower taxes on everyday items, which, at the end of the day, should mean more money left in your wallet. We're talking about real, tangible savings on the things you buy all the time.
So let's start with something we all do, the weekly grocery run. Just think about all the essentials you toss in your cart. We're talking about key dairy items like butter, ghee, and cheese. These are specifically being targeted for a tax cut. The hope is that it makes your daily shopping just a little bit lighter on the budget.
And it's definitely not just about groceries. If you've been dreaming about a new car or maybe a two-wheeler, these reforms could make a huge difference. The plan is to slash the tax component, making those really big purchases a lot more affordable for everyone. Now this could be one of the most important changes of all, healthcare. The reforms are going after everything, from essential medicines to the premiums you pay for your health insurance. The goal here is a major reduction in costs right across the board.
So what's the official story behind all these changes? Well, the government is really framing this as a gift for your wallet, a direct financial boost for the average person. And here it is, a direct quote from Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who actually called the reform a Diwali gift. Now, that kind of language sets a very clear public expectation. The number one goal here is to lower your tax burden and, in theory, boost your purchasing power. But how exactly are these savings supposed to happen? Well, the core strategy is all about simplification. The plan is to give the old and, let's be honest, often confusing GST system a major facelift.
Okay, so this slide right here is the real engine room of the whole reform. On the left, you've got the old system with its four main tax slabs. Kind of complicated. The new proposal on the right streamlines all of that down to just two main slabs, 5% and 18%. The key is that a whole bunch of stuff that used to be taxed at 12% and 28% is now getting moved into these lower brackets. And to balance the books, a new 40% slab is being created, but that's just for luxury items and so-called sin goods.
All right, so the theory sounds good, but what does this big slab shuffle actually mean for your shopping list? Let's dig into the specifics of what's expected to get cheaper. First up, let's look at the stuff that fills our homes. We're talking about everything from personal care products to major appliances. You know, the things that are part of our daily grind and our big household plans. And wow, the scale of these cuts is pretty incredible. Just look at personal care stuff like soaps and shampoos. They're set to drop from 18% all the way down to 5%. And for those big purchases, things like TVs, ACs, and even cement are expected to move from that super high 28% slab down to 18%. That 10-point drop is a massive change aimed right at middle-class budgets.
Next, let's move from the home to the road. For millions of Indian families, transportation is a huge chunk of the monthly budget, and buying a vehicle is a major life decision. So you can bet this is another key area the reforms are targeting.
And when you see the numbers, the potential impact becomes crystal clear. We're not talking about small discounts here. A possible saving of over 1.5 lakh rupees on some of the most popular SUVs. I mean, that could be the deciding factor for a family that's been on the fence about a new car. And in response, automakers are already saying they plan to pass the full benefit on to you, the customer. And hey, it's not just the government's perspective. The auto industry sees this as a huge boost. Industry leaders like Shailesh Chandra of Tata Motors are calling it a progressive decision. The view here is that this isn't just a tax cut for us, it's a massive stimulus for the entire auto sector. All right, let's turn to a sector that affects every single one of us, our health and well-being. The potential savings here could have a direct impact on both our finances and, just as importantly, our peace of mind. Now this is arguably one of the most powerful changes being proposed. Take personal health and life insurance for a second. The GST is set to drop from 18% to 0. That is a direct and significant saving for you year after year. And at the same time, 33 essential life-saving drugs are also set to become tax-exempt. The goal is simple: make both preventative care and critical treatment more affordable. Okay, so we've seen what this means for our wallets. But let's zoom out for a second. What's the big picture economic play here? How does the government figure that cutting taxes is actually going to help the economy grow?
Well, the strategy is to kickstart what economists call a virtuous growth cycle. Here's how it's supposed to work. It starts with lower prices, which leads to us, the consumers, having more demand. At the same time, a simpler tax system should improve compliance, bringing more businesses into the formal system. And the theory is, this wider tax base actually leads to stronger government revenues, which can then be reinvested to fuel even more growth. It's a loop.
And to get that cycle spinning, you need fuel. The government estimates that these tax cuts will pump 2 lakh crore rupees back into the economy. And that's money going directly into the hands of consumers. That's the huge initial push that's meant to get the whole thing moving.
Now, to really get the significance of this next-gen reform, it helps to take a quick look back at how we got here. See, this change isn't happening in a vacuum. It's the latest big step in a pretty long journey for India's tax system. The idea of a single, unified GST was first floated way back in the year 2000. It finally launched in 2017, wiping out 17 different taxes and creating one single national market. And now in 2025, we're seeing its most significant evolution yet, this big move to a simpler, more citizen-focused model. And this chart? This kind of shows you why the government feels confident making such a big move. Since GST launched back in 2017, the taxpayer base has more than doubled, from around 66 lakh to over 1.5 crore. That tells us the economy is becoming much more formalized, creating a broader base that, in theory, can support lower tax rates for everyone.
So let's wrap this up with the key takeaways. First, the whole system gets simpler, which means less confusion. Second, a ton of everyday goods and big-ticket items are about to get cheaper. Third, huge health savings, especially with zero GST on insurance and crucial drugs. And finally, this is all part of a larger economic strategy to boost spending and drive growth. So you see, this isn't just about tweaking a few tax rates. It's a huge bet on a new economic path for India. The changes are designed to put more money into millions of pockets, all in the hope of sparking a new wave of spending and growth. And that leaves us with a really crucial question. Will this truly unleash a new era of consumer-led prosperity? That, my friends, is the 2 lakh crore rupee question.
अगर आपको वीडियो पसंद आया हो तो लाइक, शेयर और सब्सक्राइब जरूर करें।